Hi and welcome to the My Future Business Show. My name is Rick Nusky and I'm sitting here with Heather Havenwood. How are you, Heather?
I'm good. Sitting next to you. That'd be nice. All the way from Australia to
You
Texas.
know, in a virtual sense of the word, yes, yes.
Of course, of course, of course.
It's very easy to start, creating really powerful relationships just simply through Skype. So there's lots to be thankful for with regard to Skype being this free service, because I've had the opportunity to speak to some very influential people, and Heather is no different. Now, Heather, what we like to do in the show is we go through I guess somewhat of a set format of peeling back the layers and talking about you as a person, as an individual, and your whole mission and some life and business principles that you live by, before we start sort of delving into the nuts and bolts of what you know about business and what you can offer. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start there then. Well, whereabouts are you? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm in Austin, Texas. Born and raised actually a Texas girl, but I lived in Florida for many years. So I kind of grew up between Texas and Florida. And I've been doing online marketing. My first online business plan was 1999. I actually have a master's degree in digital marketing, believe it or not, from Full Sail University, which is the first one in the country to actually have it. And then, then Ryan Dice, those guys actually published one of my companies in 2009-10. They actually helped me get started in one of my businesses. So I've been around a long time in the online information marketing industry. I started in the information marketing industry and moved into even e-com as well, and started in the seminar information marketing space is where I started, and then moved into the online space in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. Built my first online business from $0 to $1 million in 2005, and then just completing a sale right now of an online business I just built and weight loss supplement to about 1.5 million in the last 18 months with a partner. So, I'm an online marketing person, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I like to put myself in that little box. Like, people are like, "Are you an online marketer?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What does that mean exactly?" So I think that I'm just an entrepreneur.
It seems like when we hear internet marketer, it's been somewhat tarnished through a lot of, I
Yeah.
guess, dodgy operators. But when I personally hear internet marketer, and I strike a lot of very good ones, I get very excited, because they can open the door for you to have a completely different lifestyle, completely different life experience that you might, compared to what you might be experiencing now. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. If you're in the corporate environment, it is hard to potentially conceptualize working from home full time and having a virtual staff. And that's more and more common. I think it's happening, but I've lived that world so long that it's actually really weird for me the other way. So it would be weird for me to go into an office setting. I probably wouldn't do very well in the environment because it's awkward. That would be awkward to me. I work from home. I enjoy working from home, but really love and creating, and I have a virtual team.
Right. So
And project manager, yeah.
do you spend a lot of time away from your business? Do you have a focus on that sort of balance?
I mean, I do. Obviously, I'm working right now. I'm in the middle of a contest, a figure contest. What that means is a bodybuilding contest.
Mm-hmm.
So in about 8 or 9 weeks, I'm going to be hopefully getting on stage for a figure contest. That means I'll get in a tiny little bikini, ask people to judge me. That's obviously a hobby, not something I make money in, but that is something I do on the side. So, but when you're an online marketer for myself and I work from home, yeah, I think it's I do take Sundays off.
Yeah.
I really step away from the computer, but at the same time, yeah, you're always kind of on. And I kind of enjoy that. There's a
Mm.
part of me that for a long time was like, I need to have this balance. It needs to be this way.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, it just works for me. It might not work for other people. My people, like, they don't like to, the concept of meeting people to go have a cocktail at 5:30 and literally be, um, not have to look at your phone every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's weird to me. I heard the grapevine. I have no idea if this is true, that in some countries in the UK, you're actually not allowed to email the employee after like 5 or 5:30. They can get
Mm.
fined or
Mm-hmm.
something. I thought that was absolutely crazy. So that world I wouldn't do well in, So I
Yeah,
think it
well,
just comes with the kind of person.
it seems to me that there's, I guess, people that are seeking that, and others who have a busy mind, and they're, like you say,
Yeah.
they're always switched on. And I would have to say, I'm one of those types of people too. I believe.
They like to switch it off, or you just kind of
No,
like
no, I
open.
can't. And this is the thing. I'll sit up at 3 a.m. in the morning going, I've got a good idea, or I have.
Right, I've got a good idea.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I've always have a pen and a pad next to the bed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I, I get this impression you're very, I guess, fitness conscious, and
Yes.
I really want to explore that because
Sure.
oftentimes we talk about the nuts and bolts of a business, and I think that's only one part of it. I think health, well-being, and lifestyle, diet, all of these things obviously contribute.
Mhm.
I know personally that if one's out, and I'm not, necessarily exercising as much as I should, or my intake is not as good as it needs to be, I suffer. Do you have like a regimented approach to your day? How does that look?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you work from home, for me, I structure my life. So I have a calendar, and I really live by the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
When I wake up, I do cardio. Right now, I'm in what I call 2 days. So I'm doing cardio in the morning. I go walk my dog.
Yep.
I have full breakfast. I mean, it's very regimen. And then I have scheduled calls and scheduled meetings and scheduled things throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
as well as going to the gym in the either midday or after or evening or afternoon. So I have a very structured day. You can't just free flow it because
Yeah.
it still is a business.
Yeah.
I have meetings, I have vendors, and most of my vendors are people that I work with are not what I call full-time to me. So they have other clients as well. So I'm constantly meeting with people. I'm also meeting with people like you, and
Yeah.
doing interviews. So everything's really rigorous and structured.
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago when you worked from home, back when I first started, like in 2003, 4,
Mm-hmm.
that the biggest part is rigor.
Yeah.
Because if you just like hang out at house, what do you do? I mean, think about like a Saturday, Sunday when you have nothing to do. You just kind of what I call twiddle around the house. You just kind of like walk around aimlessly. At least I do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what are you?
Yeah.
They call it twiddling around the house here in America. But if you don't have that rigor with yourself and a structure, then you're going to just kind of do that and you won't get anything done.
Yeah, I would agree with that absolutely, and I've had to learn that
Yeah.
over the years is to have that ability to switch into if you're in I create a space. The work office is where I
Yeah.
work. If I'm not in that space, I'm not necessarily working directly. So,
Yeah.
do you have a dedicated space where you work best?
I do. I have an entire, room that's an office, and
Yeah.
it's an extension of my um, patio. So I kind of have like a two rooms in a
Mm-hmm.
way. And it's really my most favorite part of my home. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm here a lot,
Yeah.
and I relax in the patios. But honestly, what's interesting is a lot of the people that I know in corporate world, when they moved to working from home,
Mm-hmm.
there was challenges because also their family would be like, "Oh, you're home. Like I can count on you, or I can ask you a question or whatever." Versus I'm at work, I'm inaccessible.
Yeah.
And so you have to create those boundaries. That's why people go to Starbucks or Panera Bread or wherever they go to other locations to
Mm-hmm.
kind of remove themselves. And I'm okay with that as well. I do that sometimes just to kind of create a new environment
Mm-hmm.
to get the energy from people. But I really haven't been in a corporate environment or a cubicle or anything like that in a really, really, really long time.
Mm.
About 2010 or 11, I went back to corporate world. I tried anyway, and I lasted 90 days. And it was the most uncomfortable feeling for me because I just don't fit here. It just feels weird. I got in like a lot of arguments with my bosses in a loving way. They're like, we really like you and you're an entrepreneur. You need to leave. So I was like, oh,
Oh, you're not a
they
good
did.
you're not a good
They did.
employee.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was a funny little haha. And I'm like, okay. And what's interesting enough about that is that my boss's boss, like the regional manager dude,
Mm-hmm.
um, he actually reached out to me a couple years later and said, hey, I'm actually going on my own, and I know you're really good at this. You want to meet up? And it was just super weird because in that corporate environment, he was like the boss's boss,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now he's like, hey, I need to pick your brain. Like, I need to actually get advice from you. So
Yeah.
I think it's one thing in the entrepreneurship world. There's no status like that. That was weird for me to
Mm-hmm.
have this like the regional. You don't talk to the regional. You talk to the manager. The manager talks to the regional, and the regional talk. And there's none of that in entrepreneurship world. Like I walk up to people all the time that I know they own multi-million-dollar business. I'm like, hey, what's up? There isn't some kind of structure of, well, you're not supposed to talk to them or something.
Yeah.
There's just like an openness.
Yeah.
And I crossed those lines a lot at that company. So they were like, you can't do that. I'm like, I can't. When did that happen? So
Yeah.
I think I just don't do well in corporate world now. I started in corporate world, believe it or not. I started in 94, 95 in these telecommunications and cell phone business. And I did very well. I actually was number one in the country out of 10,000 reps. And then I got fired. And I got fired soon after I got my, what I call my pat on the head,
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand that because here I am. This is what I was taught. I was taught you go work for a big company, you make them a lot of money, you get a little bit of that money, we're all happy, right? What I wasn't taught and didn't understand was politics and understanding that I was a woman and everyone else was a man, and they didn't like the fact that I was beating them, and I was also half their age. So I got fired because of that. And it was super weird to me, and it kind of reversed my psychology. And so that's why I actually ended up being an entrepreneur, because I just knew, God, I don't want that again. You know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes we make decisions based on, I don't know what I want, but I just don't want that.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, like,
Yeah.
I don't want that. So that's how I kind of got into entrepreneurship.
Well, thank you for revealing that. I think there's a great takeaway for the audience in that, that moment in time where you recognize that you're not a good employee. That's a time of reflection, isn't it? That's a time for you to say, look, maybe there is a different way, and thank whatever the powers to be that the internet came to be what it is today, because it certainly opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah, and I didn't find the internet then. This was this is 2000, 2001. I'll share the story if you want me to. I'll share how it happened. Okay. So here I am. I'm in Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas area, and I just gotten fired. I just finished my degree as well. And all my friends were in corporate world. My family was in corporate world, my sister, whatnot, cousins. And so, that's just what everyone was doing. And so everyone just said, go back, everyone was like, give me their little advice. And all their advice was just go back and get another job. Like, you're in sales, you did well, you have no problem getting another job. And I knew they were right, because I had a good track record, but I knew I didn't want it. I went on a few interviews and I was like, ugh, God, please don't hire me. Please don't hire me, So I was sitting there on a couch with my girlfriend who had just gotten married with her new husband on a Sunday, and he's flipping the channel, between whatever, football and whatnot. And it lands on this infomercial. And the infomercial was like something like, do you want to own your life? Do you want to control your destiny? You want to make more money or something? And I'm like, yes, that's me. So they said, go to the seminar tomorrow at 1:00 at the hotel. And I'm writing it down, making sure my girlfriend does not see because she thinks I'd be crazy. So I go to this seminar and I sit in the seat, and they do this 2.5-hour presentation, and they're selling you into like a $3,000, how to make money in real estate or notes or something. And I didn't care what it was, because in my world, I thought, I'm a good salesperson, I'm smart, so whatever, I don't care what it is, I can do it. So I'm yes. I'm like, and then they say what I call the not magic words, which was, it's $3,000. And I'm like, I don't have that. All right. So then they say the next magic words, which are, but your spouse is only 1,000. So I nudged the stranger next to me. I'm like, hey, Bob, Joe, John, Rick, I don't know your name. Can I be your spouse? And he said, sure. What's your name? And went to the back, and we had different last names, different addresses, different credit cards, we didn't have a ring on, and I'm like, that's my spouse. And they were like, yeah, right. They knew I was lying, but I was willing to do whatever. Right. So, they got a commission out of it. So it's not like it was like completely crazy. So I, signed up, gave my $1,000, went to my seminar the next week without my hubby, whoever he was. He never showed up. So I showed up, and they kind of were watching me, and they started asking me questions. Who are you? What's your dealio? You're young. Like, this is weird. We know you lied to us. Like, what's your story? So I told them, and I said, I told them I basically don't have a job, And they said, why don't you move to Florida, and why don't you travel with us? So I ended up moving to Orlando, Florida, and I started working for that entity, that company that basically traveled the country doing real estate seminars. And that's how I got into the business.
Wow, that's an amazing story. It's just all I could, the thing that I took away from that is that if you really want something, you'll
You'll do
You'll
it.
fake a marriage to get it.
Exactly. And to have her, I swear to God, to this day, I do not know who that guy is. If I passed him on the street, I would not know who he is. Jack, George, John. I mean, he was just like, yeah, I don't even think he wanted it. I think he just did it because I asked him to. So I think I refunded or something. But the point of that is that you never, I think entrepreneurship finds you.
Mm,
I don't think you find it. I
yeah.
think nowadays the challenge I hear with not only, just Americans, I know because I'm in America, but I
Hmm.
hear that a lot with young people is that they're trying to be it. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm trying. And I'm like, that's like, I don't know. That's like trying to be a dog or something when you're not a dog or
Force
something,
feeding the baby, you know?
yeah, you're trying to force feed something into who you're not.
Mm,
And true entrepreneurs, the ones that I know that I've known for a long time, like
mm-hmm.
long, long time, even Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher, I've known them before they were who they are to people.
Yep.
They're true entrepreneurs. They've been up a lot of challenges and they just keep going because it's who they are. It's
Mm,
very different than, oh, we have a challenge. I don't want to do this anymore. So I find that the true entrepreneurs have gone through way more challenges and valleys and mountains than what I call like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. You know what I mean? So
yeah, when Digital Marketer was in Sydney in 2015, I spent some money to make sure I could rub shoulders with both Ryan and Richard Lidner and the
yeah,
team.
Richard.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Richard's a really wonderful guy. He's quite tall,
Yes, he is.
as opposed to Ryan. Ryan's I'm just
Short.
fractionally taller than Ryan, so
He's shorter. Dude,
he's a,
Dyson's short.
he's
I
a
like
wonderful man, and he's got a great
Dyson.
soul, you know.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I have to give him hell. I mean, I live like, 30 minutes from both those guys.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, Richard's a great guy. He's just a smart mofo, and Perry's just a smart dude, hilarious, cracks me up. And Ryan, I've known for a really long time. I think I first met him in 2004
Mm-hmm.
or 2005 or something crazy. I don't even know. I met him when he was just like this total, I call him, I mean, I would say this to his face, a total geeky guy. I just, like, he's Ryan. I'm just like, I do some stuff on the internet. Yeah, and he had like two people that worked with him, and yeah, so I've known him a long time. But who he really is an entrepreneur, and so is Perry and Ryan, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and Richard. They're just amazing guys.
And when I talk about Ryan, he signed a book for me. I can't remember what the name of the book was. The Invisible Selling Machine, I think it was, and he wrote on there, test, prove, then automate in that sequence, and he signed it, and I was stoked. And from then onwards, it sort of sat with me, and it started to get me thinking more about my background and systems development and evolving your business so that you can start to grow a team, which you sort of indicated you're doing. Do you have a very systems oriented approach to, I guess, the moving parts in your business and the way you build teams, etc.?
For me, myself, I focus first on the systems of the marketing
Mm.
first,
Mm-hmm.
constantly tweaking the systems and moving myself out of positioning. And it's something I've had to learn in the last couple of years, actually, where doing one thing once, recording it, and then sending it off to somebody else to do forever.
Yeah.
And the challenge with that as an entrepreneur is like, you're like, well, they won't do it as well. And you're right. They won't. If they do it 70%,
Mm-hmm.
80%, then it's one cog in the wheel you can move off. And then you always have to manage them.
Yeah.
Especially if you're working with people overseas or the Philippines or whatnot, is that they are smart. You just have to manage them. And that's a challenge with entrepreneurs. They're not always good at managing people. I am. I've learned that. I've learned how to really work with, here's the system. Let me watch, do it again, tweak until finally I can release it.
Mm-hmm.
When I feel it's at like 80%, they're doing it 80 to 85%, I release it.
Right.
And so that's a key piece. That's a lot of entrepreneurs have a hard time with that.
Well, that's a very Perry thing to say. The 80
I
20
probably got it from him.
the 80-20 rule applies, is that you're never going to get it perfect. 20% of your impact comes from 80% of your impact comes from 20% of what they do. Do you just do a raw video and just send it to them? Then do they create flow charts from that, or procedures or principles? How does that work?
So I'm not the best at this. I'm actually learning from my friend at 123 employee, Devin. He actually does this quite well. He's at a point in his life. I don't think he does anything except like sleep.
Ah,
He tries to get everything up his plate, which I admire. Yeah, he taught me. He said, do something, record yourself with a screen flow doing it,
mm-hmm.
and send it over to them, have them do it, and before they send it out or whatever, like make it live or something like that,
Yep.
you watch how they do it, you check it, and then schedule it.
Yep.
And I'm actually using a new software called Red Booth, which Jamie J Slap Studio actually referred me. Wow, he changed my life with that. Red Booth is set up so that if you have like clients that have to do things over and over and over again, or right now your social media over and over and over through the month, or content manager, any of that kind of stuff, you can set structures where it's just like it's a flow path once, and then you literally repeat it. And so that the person who's working on the other side can literally go next, check, checklist, next month, next week, checklist. You literally create checklists. And so we did that. I have a podcast out, and so we have a structure of publishing it out. And then we have a structure of the social media push out. And then we do a rinse and repeat every single week. So we created that structure so that everyone has this kind of checklist process. And then I can see where I'm a cog in the wheel. What was happening was I was the cog in the wheel.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we need your title. And I'm like, oh, okay, I forgot. So they're like, we create this checklist for me. So now I can go in, get my stuff done, and then I pass it off, and I'm no longer the cog in the wheel. They're very happy with that now. So I think that process with Red Booth, and then of course I use Slack. Those are the two tools I use right now in my business the most.
Well, that's the thing, for you to scale, or anybody to scale, and is through leveraging and understanding the value of your time. And that's really great feedback that you shared with us about how you use Slack and Red Booth. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm looking at your wonderful, clean, crisp website, and it's very, very nice. It's you see some websites and they're just gaudy, they're overwhelming. You've got a beautiful image of yourself there and a bit of a write-up, but I'm not overwhelmed by the website, and so that's a real credit to you. Are you? Is that something one of your team put together for you? How did that come about?
So I think you're looking at Heather Havenwood, correct?
I am.
Havenwood.com.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple sites. So I also have sexybossinc.com. That's my book site. And those two sites I got developed together. It's interesting. I had many iterations of my website, Heather Havenwood. In fact, you're welcome to go to the Wayback Machine. You're like, what is that? And I started to realize that, there's like fashion. Okay. Like if I was in the fashion industry right now, fashion changes really fast. The web world has been trying to be like fashion, where things are cool and then they outdate and then they cool again. And I'm like, I don't want to keep up with that. That's crazy. So I took about 6 months with a designer, and I really thought through the coloring first, and the messaging, of course, and the imagery.
Yeah.
Because what I wanted to do was set a tone. You get there and there's a tone. And it doesn't say, the big one for me was, I didn't want to say man, and I didn't want to say woman. For some reason, there's a lot of that with information marketers and coaches. It's like you go to someone's site, it's all pink, right?
Yeah.
Or it's all blue. Like, come on, guys, we're not two. Okay. So I really wanted to create a color scheme that didn't have that gender base.
Gender
number
neutral.
one.
Yeah.
It's gender neutral. It's like they call it like an orange reddish. It's orangey reddish.
I quite
It's a
like
neutral.
it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's men are attracted to it, women are attracted to it. There's not like you're for women only.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I'm
say
in
that.
the wrong place. I'm a guy. I should get out of here.
Right. Yeah, because actually 60% of my clients are men, so
All
it doesn't. Right. So that was number one. Number two, I took time to get some really good photos, and I had my I always work with my photographer really well, and I like sit down. This is the image I'm looking for to make sure it's congruent with who I am.
Yeah.
Right. So that's that. And then I just sat down with I'm a copywriter, so I really did the messaging. And a lot of people don't want to do all what I just said for a website. They just don't. And if you look at the other two companies that I'm in the process of selling, and we're in and the legal conversation around that, and skinnybeam.com and e2lab.com. Those sites, I spent a lot of time on the coloring, the imagery, the type of color. I mean, I just spent time.
Mm.
And I always think of cars, cars, luxury cars.
Mm-hmm.
They spend so much time on the color of their sites and the color of their commercials and the imagery, because that's what they sell. They sell the feeling.
Yeah.
Right? So I spent some time on it, and a lot of people just don't do that. And if they don't do that, they're not going to get the conversion that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
I mean,
A website.
it's a real credit to you. I mean, if you don't mind, what we normally do is we do a bit of a write up and a transcript download of the call. And if we can grab your other URLs, you can share them again with us at the end of the call. Would that be okay to share those?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And my Sexy Boss Ink one, you obviously get there, and it does have what I call a pink rose to it, but not like a pinky Barbie pinky thing. I hate that because obviously Sexy Boss is geared towards women. It says really female entrepreneur. It's very focused on that, but it doesn't make you feel, because I'm not a girly girl, so I didn't want women to go there like, oh my God, it's Barbie, throw up. So
no, I'm not getting that impression.
Yeah, I mean, like Digital Marketer, I kind of stole from them. They spent a lot of time on their logo. I remember what it used to be. They spent a lot of time and work with a branding person on the color and the image and the cog and why, the symbol. That's what you do when you're building a real brand. And that's something that's really important to me as a business owner, is that I'm here not just to make money. I'm actually here to build a brand and build an empire, so I think that's really important versus just make some money online. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a real purpose, and that's another big part of what our focus is on the calls, is to, I guess, reveal the purpose behind and the core reason why you're doing this, which you've just sort of shared with us. So thank you. When we look at your site, you mentioned you had a show now called The Win Show.
The Win, yeah.
Tell us about
yes,
that.
The Win. I like your how you said it. The Win Show. That was cute. It's called The Win, and basically it's about winning in business and life. So I started a year ago. I'm now on 45 radio stations across the country. That's fun in the United States, and of course I'm on iTunes, iHeart, Google Play, and about 13 other podcast softwares. So I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's grown tremendously. In fact, last week was my 1-year anniversary, so it was a lot of fun.
Congratulations.
But I will say this, that when I started the podcasting space, what I did, and in fact, I'm coming out with a book about this called Being a Great Guest, which is what I'm doing today with you. And I tell people, do not start a podcast. I tell them, don't start it. Please don't start a podcast. Please don't start a podcast. In fact, what I tell them is, please first be a guest. Be a great guest. Give a lot of value, because my job here is to give you value, give you and your guest value. That's my job. Give, right?
Yep.
And to be a great guest for you, right? It's not about me. It's about you and your guests and your platform. So I did 250 interviews first before I started my first show.
Wow.
So, right? So people, but see, here's the cool thing. One, I get to meet some really cool people. You're amazing. And I get to meet cool people, which is a lot of fun.
Yep.
But I get to what I call in the green room. And the green room was, I would do the interview, and then afterwards or before, I'd be like, hey, tell me what works and doesn't work in the space. So I learned the industry that way. I didn't take a course. I actually learned what to do, what not to do, softwares, all that kind of stuff, editing, all that crazy stuff that goes in the background. I learned that through first adding value and being a great guest. And then I would ask questions, and then of course they were totally open to share. So, and I think that's why my podcast has kind of exploded, because I knew how to launch it.
That's really great. That's a really great strategy take. We're all about strategy here, and I think a lot of people get confused about what does actually strategy mean as opposed to tactic. And clearly, for me, that's a strategy that if you're thinking about doing a podcast, that would be a way to go. Is educate yourself and add value and be that consummate guest.
Well, think about the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
Most people start out as actors, or Oprah started first, behind a news desk. She didn't have her own show. I mean,
Mm.
she didn't come out of the gate like that. Actors usually end up being directors or producers, but they didn't start there. They
Mm.
were actors first. They understood the industry. They understood the camera. They understood what I call in front of the camera and behind the camera. They learned stuff, and then they moved into different places, right, in the movie business.
Yeah.
And I think that's a smarter way to go than just, I'm going to be a director, and you've never been in front of the camera or
Mm.
something. You've never understood, or you've never built a scene before. I mean, it's the same thing in podcasting world. That's also an online marketing space too. A lot of people, I want to start my own business. I'm like, well, why don't you go work for a company for a while, do their marketing, do their affiliate marketing, do their email marketing, do different parts of the industry, and find out what you like to do
Mm. Mm.
before you just all of a sudden try to become Oprah. I mean, Oprah didn't, Oprah is, I'm sure, but Oprah didn't all of a sudden become her own show first. She
Yeah.
had years in front of the camera understanding the industry before she ever got her own show.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, there's no such thing as a quick win, and if there is,
No.
it's only a short one. This is, I guess, a long game.
It's a long game. Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially podcasting, people think, I can be a millionaire tomorrow. Same thing with online marketing. There's a lot of different, the industry has changed so much. I find it's very similar to the entertainment industry in such that if you, at the end of a movie, right, you
Yep.
see the credits,
Yep.
and they go forever. You're like, oh my God, there's a lot of freaking people that make a movie, right? We think it's like the 5 actors and maybe a director and some producers, some money, we're good. No,
Right.
it's like so many people.
Yep.
And if you look at a website, there's so many people behind it.
Mm.
If you look at an e-com site that's making $2 million a year, there's so many people behind it.
Mm.
It's not as much as a movie, but it's a lot.
It's
Right? And-
resource intensive.
It's resource intensive, and so people look at all these pieces and they think I can do it all.
Mm.
I'm like, no, you can't be the director and the producer and the actor unless you're Brad Pitt or something. But I mean, you can't be all of those at the same time,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And
That's a really
you
great
have to-
analogy that I just
Yeah.
want to really focus on for a second, because that actually is the best way I've ever heard it described, is as it correlates to the credits for a movie.
There's
you know,
so
you-
many people usually leave the movie, right? I always sit and watch. It always blows me away. Like Robert Redford now is a great director and
Mhm.
producer and whatnot, but I mean, he started in front of the camera,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Years and years and years and years, and so many other ones end up in the behind the camera. They end up producing and directing because they understand the front of the camera. The record label industry is actually very similar to the online marketing industry now.
Mm.
And I knew it was going that direction many, many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I built businesses such that, like, I was the producer, let's say, or the director,
Mm-hmm.
and then the actress is just what I call the guru, right? So that's what my first business was. Is I basically was the director and producer, and then there was the guru, our actor, and their job was to have the content. They're the content piece,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like a record label. They're the musician. But I was the producer and the director and production and all those other pieces. And we went the business from $0 to $1 million. That's the piece I'm really good at,
Mm.
right? So when people say, oh, I had this idea of this product and service, I'm like, okay, great. That's like having a great song. Okay, great. And you have the producer, director, publisher, who's going to push that, who's going to market you.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I am. That's what I do.
Right. So, and it's already been 40 minutes. I can't believe it. I've just looked over and I'm thinking,
Not bad.
no, as is the case with all
Yep.
good calls, the time just dissolves. I don't know where it goes. And I suspect we could have a very deep conversation about a number of different streams of your business. But right for now, where can people find you? I'm looking at something here that says about your working with Heather, part of your page. Is that the only place that you would send people to, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with clients one-on-one. I am looking at doing a group program right now, but I'm really a one-on-one, basically coach,
Mm-hmm.
where I work with the business owner on their current sales and doubling and tripling their sales and increasing their time off, right? So I mean, I work with it doesn't have to be online marketing either. I have a company who's a Hollywood producer. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
I have a wedding planning company that they've grown tremendously. I really work with the systems like you. Like I work with their systems, their marketing systems, their sales systems, and how they increase their sales and lower their time, basically get more time off, right?
Right.
Not as much time at the job. So how do they do that? So I work with them one-on-one. You can find me at coachwithheather.com. It's coachwithheather.com. It actually redirects to the part of the website. So just coachwithheather.com, or you can go to heatherhavenwood.com as well.
Now, for our audience, you will see below this post, depending on where you're listening to, you might be on the iTunes syndication. Definitely get involved with Heather. This is just one of those calls that I just have to invite you back because there's a lot that hasn't been
There's
said.
a lot here.
So it's been a real pleasure, actually. I'm so glad that we've connected, and we look forward to having you back on the My Future Business Show very soon.
All right, thank you, Rick, for having me. I really appreciate it. Can I give your people a free gift?
Oh, absolutely. And I should have mentioned that. So what have you got for them?
No worries. So I have my book, Sexy Boss, which is about empowerment of women. It's changing the real book for money, success, and sex, and about female entrepreneurship. So if they're interested in that book, of course, they can go to Amazon, look it up. But I want to give them free 3 chapters of my audio book. So I did the audio version of the book.
Awesome.
So if they're in the United States, they can do it this way. Unfortunately, it doesn't work outside the United States. I haven't figured it out yet, so I'm super sorry.
That's all right.
But you can text the word sexy to 72000. So pick up your smartphone and text the word sexy to 72,000, and you get the free 3 chapters on your phone immediately. Or you can go to sexybossinc.com, and when you opt in, you get it there as well. And unfortunately, it only works in the United States in the texting. So
these are just technical issues. We can work around it.
Yeah.
I'll offline have a chat with you about what we can do for our audience, and certainly get something to them regardless of where they are. So again, Heather, great to have you on the call, and we'll talk with you again soon.
Thank you, Rick.